राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद 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 राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Radhe Radhe. Jai Shri Radhe.
Jai Shri Radhe.
Thank you for coming to Barsana, the eternal home of Sri Radha. Throughout all of Braj, or the Vrindavan area, this is... Maharaj, please sit here. Please, please. Barsana is like the heart for so many of the residents of Vrindavan, because it is here that Sri Radha has her eternal home, just behind you on that mountain. Bhakti is the awakening of love from the heart. Sri Radha is the ultimate supreme origin of all love. Because the absolute truth is Advaita, or one. Vadanti tat tattva vedas tattvam yajganamadvayam. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Describes that this absolute truth is one. But Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shakti Rasmat. That one truth becomes two. We are not speaking about a chronological time order. For all of eternity, the absolute truth is two. It is inconceivable. But that is the first definition of God according to Vedanta, is achintya, inconceivable. So that one truth becomes two for the very purpose of existence. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Krishna tells us he is the origin of all material and spiritual worlds. And the purpose of all existence is love. That is why it is the innermost, deepest need of the soul of every living being to love and be loved. Because that is not only the purpose of life, but it is the purpose of everything that exists. And Radha Krishna, their love for each other, is that ultimate source of everything. Radha is the lover. Krishna is the beloved. And because Radha is the source of all bhakti or devotion, Vrindavan is her land. And in her land, this is her home. And where you just came from, I think you went to Mandir?
You were there?
Did you tell the story?
No, I did not.
He always saves something for me. He knows everything. He's realized everything. He gives everything. But for his little brother, sometimes he leaves some little remnant for me to do.
That's part of the meaning.
So that particular little hill is called Man Mandir. Man means love that is expressed through anger. Now, in this material world, Jayato Vishayan Pungsang Sanjan, the Gita tells that when our selfish passions are unfulfilled, we become angry. But in the spiritual realm, these qualities have their purity and their perfection. Anger exists only for the purpose of increasing and deepening love. Because everything exists only on the platform of love, on the spiritual platform. So Krishna does something purposely to make Radharani angry, because he wants to increase her love. And then she becomes angry only to increase his love. And on that hill she would sit when she would be angry. And she would not speak to Krishna. And Krishna would come like a beggar, begging, please look at me. And she'd look the other direction. And he'd come on that side and she'd look this way. And he'd come on that side and she'd look this way. And he'd stand in front and she'd look down. And he'd come down and she'd look up and he'd go. But everywhere she saw, she was seeing Krishna. She looked at the sky and she saw the blue and there was Krishna. So she was doing this only to increase Krishna's happiness. And ultimately, to pacify her anger, the absolute truth, the king of all kings, the supreme cause of all causes, the father and mother of all living beings, the ultimate goal of all religions, Allah, Jehovah, Ram, Shiva, Brahman, that Para-Brahman, he bowed down and put his head at the feet of Sri Radha and bathed her feet with his tears. And then she looked at him and talked to him. Now this is a very special story, but in Vrindavan this story is the very essence and foundation of everything they live for. To connect with that love. How Krishna, the Supreme Controller, agrees and finds the greatest happiness in being conquered by the love of a devotee. So this little eye camp that we've been doing for about how many years?
20 years.
21 years. We started with just a few people because some of you went, Ramesh Baba and his people. We started a little medical center in Bombay, and then we wanted to do seva for the Brijavasis, so they did some advertising around the villages for people going blind, because so many people go blind due to untreated cataracts. And we started very small. And now you've come at the end. The major part of it is already kind of closed down. About 2,000 people get treated for their eyes, and over 1,000 get dental. The people who get the dental work have never seen a dentist in their life. They're coming from very remote villages. And I'll just give you a few examples of how these Brijavasis live, and what a joy it is to serve them. These cataracts, one lady, she was maybe in her 80s. She looked like she was in her hundreds. But I was talking to her, and she was about to go blind. She was blind in one eye, and she had a huge cataract that was about to blind her second eye. And she was sitting there amongst hundreds and hundreds and others, and I would just come and talk to them with a translator. And she said, I don't care if I go blind because I have nothing in this world to see. I only want to see Thakurji. I want to see my deity, and I want to see the land of Vrindavan. And if you can give my sight back so that I can see that, I am forever going to bless you. And one old lady like that, she was probably in her 80s or 90s. A very, very prestigious doctor from Mumbai came to volunteer. There's about 15 doctors. Many are from our hospital, others are just volunteers. They live in very nice places. They're doctors, and they get lots of money for what they do back in Mumbai. And here he's just in the mud and in the rain and simple conditions for free, just doing surgery. And he took after the surgeries, they put something on the eye. And he came and took it off this one old lady, and it was the first time she could see in years. And she was dressed in rags, and she was tiny, and she was skinny, and she started beating him on the head like this. I'm not. She was beating him like this. She was going, and he was like, "What's this?" And she was saying, I bless you that you will always have Radha's grace." And he was crying. What did she say? Do you remember exactly when she was beating him on the head?
I don't remember.
Yeah, she was saying, "I bless you that Radharani's love will always be with you." And he said that was the highlight of his entire life. He could have made so much money in a week doing surgeries in Bombay, but he came here for nothing. He was struggling, cold, and that one lady hitting him on the head and blessing him, he said, was the very highlight of his life.
He just went back yesterday. He just went back to Bombay yesterday, after operating for 3 days, the doctor.
You heard the story of Shamdas's mother? How many, please raise your hand if you heard it. So can I tell it again? Shamdas, my beloved friend and brother, he passed away this year. For the last few years, he would come every year to this camp and bring people, special guests. And last year, he brought his mother, Gloria. Now, Gloria is a very distinguished person. She was the state senator for Connecticut for many years. In Look magazine, which is the #1 magazine back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, there was Look and Life. There was a front page cover article just about her. Gloria Sheffer, I think it was the most powerful woman in American politics. In those days, there were very rare senators who were ladies. And during Jimmy Carter's presidency, she was the minister, I think, of some sort of scientific division in the cabinet of the White House. She's a very powerful person, very aristocratic, very highly educated. And she came here. And during the time, you missed it, when there was the diagnosis in another area, and there's thousands of people everywhere, and there's little rooms where all these people are waiting for their diagnosis. And she was with Shamdas in a little waiting area where there was just people standing around, and I was going into each of the room and meeting with the different Brajavasis. And there was one little room with about 25 very old cataract Brajavasi ladies. They're all just crouched down, kind of like what you are, sitting like that. And this one lady was sitting near the door, very tiny, very poor, big crevices in her face, and she really looked like she was beaten down by material nature. And I asked her about herself. And she told me her husband died, all her children died, all her aunts and uncles and cousins were dead, and she didn't have a home. She was just living just on the roadsides. And it's pretty cold around here in the winter and very hot in the summer. So she had no money, she had no home, she had no relatives. And she said, my only prayer in life is that I can have one of my eyes to see, so that I can once again make rotis and offer them to Radharani. A roti is simple bread, the staple food of all Brijbasis. She said, that is my only prayer in life. That if I could see, then I could make a roti and offer it to Radha. And she was so serious. And then she became really ecstatic, and she said, and you are going to take this cataract out of my eye so I could make rotis for Radha again. And she was so happy. She said, I'm so indebted, I'm so grateful. And she jumped up and started dancing. And she was singing this beautiful Brijabasi song. And all the other ladies in the room, she made them all stand up and dance with her. They all knew the song. So there was about 25 old ladies dancing and singing and dancing, and she was so enthusiastic. She looked up very tiny. She went out into the hallways to dance. And she saw in that waiting area in the hallway, there was Gloria. And she was the most unusual looking person, a dignified American lady among all these Brajbasi village ladies. And she went right up to her, singing her song, and told her in Hindi, dance, dance. And she was right up in her, looking up at her like this. And she ordered Gloria to dance. And what could Gloria do? Her devotion, her sincerity was so deep that Gloria began to dance. And they were dancing together for quite some time. There's a video of it. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. You have it. You should show it to someone. It's very esoteric, actually. And they were dancing, and everybody was watching, and then she made everybody start dancing. Shamdas was going like this. That was her happiness. That she could make a roti for Radha. That is seva. She didn't want anything for herself. She wanted her eyesight so that she could serve, so that she could give pleasure. When we water the root of the tree, automatically every part of the tree is nourished with that love. When we offer our love to Radha, to Krishna, then not only ourselves, but that love reaches every living being, everything and everyone. That was her happiness. And Shamdasji, Zach, he told you this story? What did he say? Speak loud, please.
In all the years that Shamdas had been coming to Belgium, almost 40.
Wait.
Hare Krishna. Shamdasji was telling me the story, and he'd been coming to Braj for 35 years, almost 40 years, and he said this was the first time that she really understood what it is his son has been doing all of these years. Haribol.
Hari. So these are some of the little jewels in the treasure chest of seva, of offering devotional service. Barsana is the personification of that loving service. And for all of these people who are volunteering to have the opportunity to do service here is something very special in their lives. And I'm so grateful that you have all come. but I think you also have to all go. Radhakund, by Krishna's grace, he's not here. By Radha's grace, he is here. How much time do we not have? 5 minutes we don't have, or we do have? I hope you've been having a nice pilgrimage here to India. You had a nice journey to Jaipur? We had a nice journey to Puri also. And you all came to Vrindavan. It's beautiful. Let us take a moment to offer a prayer. In these holy places where we become surcharged with spiritual feelings, our prayers are very special. Our prayers can transform our lives. Lord Chaitanya prayed, "Na danam na janam na sundarim kapitam vacha kadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatat bhakti rahoyate ki tvai." He's praying to the beloved of all hearts. I do not want any of the fleeting temporary things of this world that everyone is so eager to achieve. I don't even want liberation from suffering. I only want to serve you with love. In any situation, everywhere, forever. In our own words, according to our own aspirations, we could pray for that love. Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Vrindavan. Thank you very much. You all met Madan Mohan Brijbasi? Would you like to hear a little story about him? They told me to tell it. I'm just their puppet. Do all of you know who Bhakti Tirtha Swami is? One of my dearest friends and god brothers. He was an African American person who was born and raised in the ghettos of Cleveland in the 1950s, where there was really no civil rights whatsoever. But he, by his enthusiasm, by his positive nature, by his faith in God, he got a full scholarship to Princeton University. He became the leader of the civil rights movement there. And in the 60s, Princeton University was very conservative. And he graduated, and he was working in politics, and he had such a career that was opening up for him. But then he really wanted to devote his life to God. And he was searching, and he met Srila Prabhupada, our guru. And sometime later, he became the first African-American Vaishnava sannyasi in the history of the world. And what he used to do. He had tens and thousands of people taking guidance, inspiration from him. Among them, Muhammad Ali, Nelson Mandela, Alice Coltrane. He wrote about 15, 20 books. He was traveling around the world. And I think it was 2005 he gave a call. He was at his very last stages of melanoma cancer in Pennsylvania, at Gitanagari. And he asked me to come and see him before he passed away. So I went. And I had such a busy schedule that summer. I had so many appointments and so many meetings and so many lectures, and I could only come for 2 days at the most. So I went, and he said he was going to die in 2 days. So I went there. And then the day I had to leave, I went to his bedside to say goodbye to him. And before I could speak, he said, "I want to die in your arms. Stay with me." So I said, as long as you're living, I will stay with you. He lived 8 more weeks. So I canceled everything practically for the whole summer. I was at his bedside. And one day toward the end, he was laying in his bed, I was with him. I got a phone call from these Brijabasis. You just went to Chiksholi?
No, came on the other side of it.
Okay. Well, those Brijabasis who live with Ramesh Baba, and then if you read The Journey Home, you know I lived up there on that mountain when it was just ancient ruins at the time. Nothing was built. There was no water, no electricity. It's just a simple forest mountain with Ramesh Baba just doing his chanting. And I knew all the Brijabasis in the village there. So I've known them since 1971. And we're very close. And our family in Mumbai and their family are practically one. Yes, for many years since we connected the two. So I got a call while I was in Pennsylvania, Gitanagari, that these Brijabasis were in America, and they really, really wanted to meet with me. But I couldn't leave Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So I got this message, and then somebody was going to call to see if I could possibly travel to where they were. And they called, someone from Philadelphia area. They said, these Brijabasis, Madan Mohan Brijabasi, Panditji, Narasingha Baba, Giridhar Lal, they're all here, they're speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, they're having kirtan. Usually they're always either in California or New Jersey or New York or one of these places. They said, they really want to meet you. I said, well, where are they? They said, they're in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Which is it's the closest place to Gitanagari. So I said to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, I said, would you like me to go see these Brajavasis? Because I usually didn't want to leave, because for the whole 8 weeks he could pass any time. And I had to have him in my arms. That was his wish. So I couldn't go anywhere. So I said, do you feel good today? You'll be all right. You'll feel if I go there, you'll be here when I get back? He said, yes, I'll be here when you get back. I said, would you like me to try to bring them back to do kirtan for you? And he said, yes, please. So I went, and we went to somebody's house in Harrisburg, and they were giving some lecture, and I was there, and we had some kirtan, we had some prasad, and I said, would you like to come to be with my friend and chat with them? So they said, yes. And I had a van, so all the Brajavasis got in my van. It was very sweet. We drove to Gita Nagari, and he was on his bed, and Madan Mohan Brajavasi we gave him a harmonium, and he began to sing. Nobody, even his closest disciples, associates, never saw Bhakti Tirtha Swami like this. As Madan Mohan Brajavasi was chanting, he was literally wailing in ecstasy like a child. He was smiling, and there were tears, torrents of tears pouring from his eyes. He was going, "Ah, Radhe! Ah!" He was literally wailing. Nobody had ever seen anything like this. And after the kirtan was maybe half hour, he was crying all the time. Not just crying. I mean, he just couldn't control his ecstasy. And then, with a choked up voice, he said, I wanted to die in Vrindavan. But due to reasons, I chose to die here. But just see my Guru's mercy. That today Vrindavan came to me in the form of the most loving, humble, gentle Brajavasis to sing beautiful kirtans for him. So he was very happy. And then we had one devotee in Mumbai named Stoka Krishna. What happened is when I was with Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Stoka Krishna, somebody called me. I was at Gita Nagari, and they told me Stoka Krishna, who was one of my dearest friends, students, he was 31 years old. He was just married. His wife was pregnant. He was so humble, so sweet, so beautiful person. They told me that he had the fastest acting cancer. Was it you that called me?
No, I didn't call you.
Okay. And I wanted to be with him, but they said he would die within 2 weeks. And I was still with Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So after everything, I went back to India, and Stoka Krishna was still living. He lived another 6 months. And he wanted to pass away at our temple, Radha Gopinath temple. So we gave him a little room there, right next to the temple room. And the time came where he was at his last stages. And devotees were chanting around him, and I was holding his hand, and I was really tired. So I decided I would just go into my little room with this little mat like this and just rest for a few minutes and come back. And I lay down, and then people had just come from Vrindavan, and they brought beautiful garlands from Radha Kund, Shama Kund water. They brought garlands from Krishna Balaram temple, from Radha Raman temple, from Raghunath Swami's Samadhi at Radha Kund, all these, and they just gave them to me. Tulsi garlands from Vrindavan. So I just went in and put them all on Stoka Krishna. He was laying there like this. And I went back to take rest. And I lay down, and about 30 seconds later, go to the door, and unexpectedly, out of nowhere, it was Madan Mohan Brijabasi. He rarely comes to Mumbai. So I said, I just kind of put the two together, and I said, would you like to chant? He said, yeah, Radhe Radhe. So he went in and was chanting for Stoka Krishna. And while he was chanting, and all the devotees were chanting with him, covered by all these tulsi garlands, and I was holding his hand, he was smiling, passed from the world. So today he sang for you. Anyways, I wish you didn't have to go. But you have to go. It's 5 minutes.
15 minutes first.
Okay, so I don't want anyone to be late. Thank you so very, very much.
Radhanath Swami, Swami Maharaj ki, Maharaj ki.
Radha Gopinath temple in Bombay, you always have a home there. And if you accept, I offer you a home in my heart. Thank you very much. Haribo, Raghunathji, thank you so very, very much for arranging this wonderful tour. Sondra Devi, thank you so very, very much for making all this possible. Kaustubha Prabhu, Gita Priya Devi, thank you so very much for extending yourself in so many ways for these wonderful people. His Holiness Radhanatha Swami Maharaj, thank you for always being this saintly person that gives vision and gives grace to all of our hearts. And Radha Kun Prabhu, thank you for keeping everyone so happy and keeping me so disciplined. And to each and every one of you personally, thank you for your love, your light, your enthusiasm, and for being just like you. Haribo. Radhakun, do you have that gift from Barcelona? Thank you. It's one of the safest places I could be. Anyway, so Radhakund is like a cowherd boy, and you are all like his little cows. And he's going to herd you into the Goshala of the bus. When are you going back?
Tomorrow.
To America? Very well. Thank you. So let me know the address. Just write to me. Hari Hari. I guess Radhanatha Swami and I will be the cowherd boys.